If by some chance, some stroke of luck, or some act of God, you have stumbled upon this broadcast, you are listening to the Chivalry Chronicles with your host, Dr. DLH.
I'm a damn doctor.
David.
We're going to bring the tea
refuse
to not drink during the podcast.
Yeah.
And me, Jaime.
They need to make podcast equipment a lot more expensive to get some of these clowns off the air.
Gather around as we discuss a modern, manly approach to chivalry. So I hope you're ready, because I know we are. So let's get into it. And we're back, and we have a special guest with us, Leo Noriega. He's actually listens to the show, so welcome, Leo.
What's up, Jaime? What's up, y'all?
So
I'm a P1, Chivalry Chronicles.
P1, that's right. For those that don't know, that's priority one, meaning as soon as he gets into his car or he gets into his office, he clicks on the Chivalry Chronicles. So we appreciate you and listening. But I wanted to bring you on because this is a topic that I've wanted to discuss. And actually, you and I have discussed plenty of times. But I figured, hey, let's put it on the podcast and then let's discuss it. Let's have a chat. So for those that don't know, Leo and I, he's my younger brother. So I have two older brothers and a sister. We were all born in Mexico, and so we grew up speaking Spanish. And so there's when we moved to Dallas, grew up in Dallas, went to high school, all that stuff. When we were growing up and you hear Spanish in movies, it's kind of cool. You're like, hey, they're speaking Spanish. But then you start noticing a couple of things, like it's not conversational Spanish. It sounds like they threw it into, I guess, if they were to have like a Google translator back in the 80s, and it just sounds choppy. Of course, there's some movies that sound really good. An example of that is like La Bamba. The Spanish in La Bamba sounds really, sounds authentic. It sounds like the Spanish that you kind of grew up with. But then you have movies that it sounds terrible. It sounds choppy.
Too literal, maybe.
Yeah. So what I was telling Leo, I was like, hey, what drives me insane is when, for example, we all love the movie Selena. We know we talked about it on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and they do speak Spanish. But there's a scene in there where the dad, Mr. Quintanilla, Abraham Quintanilla, is in bed, and he gets up from bed, and his wife is like, "What's wrong?" She's like, and he says, "Tengo hambre, I'm hungry." And that I'm like, yeah. Nobody does that. Nobody says that. Nobody reiterates that. So we were going to call this. That's why we're calling this podcast Español en películas, Spanish in movies. It's like you wouldn't say that. It's like you're translating yourself to somebody that knows Spanish.
Right. It defeats the purpose of using Spanish in the first place. It's like, oh, this movie's authentic, but here's the translation. Okay. Cool.
Now, there are some movies. I mean, can you think of any movies that are like where the Spanish was authentic? You're like, man, that sounds really good. I'm in. That sounds like I'm going downstairs or I'm going outside and going to talk to my uncle and my dad and all them. They're sitting there chilling, having a beer, just having a conversation. I have a couple, but do you have any that you want to talk about?
Not really, because there's just not that much content like that out there, right? Unless it's the token Hispanic character, right? And then it's not always going to be the, conversational Spanish or colloquial Spanish, as you might say. So no, I can't really think of one where I'm like, the Spanish is spot on unless you're talking about the gangster movies, and then those are just, stereotypical, right? Like Blood in, Blood out, American Me,
Yeah.
y'all talked about some of these movies. Stand and Deliver. There's Spanish in those movies.
Yeah, the other one, it was, you said American Me, and the Spanish in there, I think is pretty good, because those characters do speak Spanish. You know, like you have other movies like Desperado, where you have actual Mexican actors, like, you know, Salma Hayek,
Right. And you know, that movie filmed in Acuña, Coahuila.
That's right. Yeah, the motherland. That's the birthplace of of the Noriega clan.
Yep.
But the two that come up recently for me are actually Marvel movies. You had most recently Wakanda Forever, where Nakia goes to find Namor, right?
Yeah.
And her Spanish is about as good as it's gonna get. Lupita.
Yeah, I could bring her home to our mom.
Yeah, and
I wish I could.
You and everyone else. Yeah, no, quick story, right? So my boss and I, my boss is black, right? We're a black-owned civil engineering firm, and we're talking, and he's like, "Hey, so Lupita, man, she looks really good." And I said, "Yeah, sir." I was like, "She's an attractive lady," and I said, "But." I said, "Mr. Young, I got to tell you, you know, I'm gonna have to. She's on our team now because, you know, she was born in Mexico." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Yeah, she was born in Mexico." I said, "She has, you know, African parents, but they lived in Mexico. They were professors or something, and that's why her name is Lupita, and that's why her Spanish is so good, because she grew up, you know, for a certain time in Mexico, learning."
What did you say? Por un momentito.
Por un momentito. No, I freaking flipped out when I'm in the movie. I'm like, man, I wanted to get up and like, did y'all hear this? Like, this is the best Spanish I've heard in a movie. You know, that's not you know, a Spanish movie or something like that. So that's one, and then the other one was Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Yes,
America Chavez.
America Chavez. And what did she say? She's like,
este güey no sabe español.
Yeah, este güey no sabe español. Ah, man, when she said that, I was like, yes, that's authentic. That's the Spanish you hear. Everyone identifies with that speaks Spanish. And I loved it. I was like, yeah, somebody, what was it, in Deadpool and Wolverine is like, who's your dialect coach? You know, I was like, whoever was, you know, the dialect coach that said, you know, we need somebody that speaks Spanish fluently, and it's conversational Spanish.
I mean, even then you could go back to Laura X-23 in Logan.
Yes, that's another one. Her Spanish is, I think she is Spanish though.
Yeah, but still, like, it was.
No, it's perfect.
You know,
so
she speak Spanish. No, did she speak Spanish in Wolverine? Deadpool Wolverine? I think she did. She said something.
What? You're right.
She threw in a little something, and I popped for it. I remember.
Yeah.
I've only seen the movie twice, so.
Well, didn't you say it was out on digital?
Yeah, it is. It is. She said something like, I can't remember. I don't want to misquote her.
No, but her Spanish was awesome, and the fact that they were in Mexico. I mean, people have problems with what is it, DEI and all that, but it's because you didn't see it before, and people just want to go back to everybody's white, right? And you have white people playing Hispanics, but no, I mean, it does make a difference. You know, my kids grew up watching movies where Hispanics in movies is a thing. Like,
yeah.
But other movies where the Spanish was perfect, and I think it's because they use, once again, Mexican actors, right? Spanglish. Right. Spanglish is one of my favorite movies by Adam Sandler. And
oh yeah, I do remember that one. I have seen that one.
Her Spanish, because she speaks Spanish and she's a Mexican actress, is great. And I'm thinking, why didn't you just do that from the beginning? Why did you take an actor that looks Hispanic but doesn't speak Spanish, and then you teach them really choppy Spanish. I mean, I guess it passes muster like to, somebody that doesn't know. But you know what? We're a demographic that we watch these movies too. Hispanics are they're getting up there as far as numbers, and I mean,
now let me talk about one that is offensive. We don't want to get into that, but like when we're talking about Desperado has Spanish. Desperado and From Dusk Till Dawn. Remember From Dusk Till Dawn?
Yes.
And then Salma Hayek was becoming a big deal. Remember her rom-com with freaking Chandler from Friends?
Yeah.
What was it called? Fools Rush In.
Fools Rush In. That's correct.
And then the just goofiness in that movie where it's like, this is my Uncle Chewie. And he's like, oh, Luke Skywalker. All right, man. All right.
I never watched Friends, so the whole
Matthew Perry. Perry.
He was. I've seen now. Friends has been out forever, and I have seen like small clips of it, but I didn't follow it, never watched it, so I never understood.
Have you seen that movie though?
No, I did see that movie, and it was terrible.
Yeah,
I hated myself afterwards. So, but I'm a big proponent for Hispanic actors, Hispanic actresses. Hispanic
I'm here for
topics.
the representation.
Yeah,
representation. And
I'll go. You're gonna get my money right off the bat. That's one of the reasons Encanto. All the Disney movies. Encanto's a great movie. All the Disney movies
Coco.
that have, Coco, like all those are great. And you'll get my money. And those were actually really good, but and the Spanish was great too in those. But I just had an issue with like a choppy Spanish. Now as far as
we're veering off, but your original point was tengo hambre. You know what? I'm hungry.
I'm hungry.
Like, yeah, you told me already.
Yeah, like I heard you the first time.
Exactly.
And then if we get into TV shows, I love watching Sons of Anarchy.
Me too.
And then they
because
have
of you.
and then of course they had the spinoff with Mayans, and they did have Spanish because one of the main characters, they had a Hispanic motorcycle club. And so that was okay. You know what I'm saying? I was like, okay, it's kind of choppy in areas, but that's good. Like it's okay. You know what I'm saying? And so when they did Mayans, they got more actors that spoke Spanish. And so they were a little bit better about it. I mean, if you watch just a regular, TV show that has Spanish in it, like Law and Order SVU or something, they have a Hispanic actor, you're going to see really choppy Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like the fact that some of these newer ones are really taking that into account. Like they do. I mean, I don't know. I mean, can't you just go into the neighborhood, pick up, like a, 25, 26-year-old dude or lady and say, just come in here and we're going to read our lines and you just correct them.
Right. Like, I haven't finished mine like you finished it, but I remember, do you watch the Miles Morales Spider-Man animated movies at all?
Yeah, I haven't seen
it.
Okay.
Well, Miles Morales is Puerto Rican, right?
Uh-huh.
Half black, half Puerto Rican. And in, I want to say the last one, which those are great. You need to watch, but you're a Spider-Man hater, so we won't get into that. That's a topic for another day.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. In the second one, like they're Puerto Rican, but she's speaking Spanish and we can understand it. There are no subtitles. And I was like, yes. Like, just take that. Like, learn Spanish. See it from, like, you can use context clues to see what the conversation is. But I'm pretty sure, I remember watching it, like, they're not translating this for the crowd, okay?
I haven't seen that. That's pretty, I don't know if it's cool, but I get it,
somebody can correct me, but I could swear there was no, when they were speaking Spanish, I didn't see any English subtitles.
Well, if you do go to your settings on your TV, you can do closed captioning.
Well, if you're in a movie theater, like,
yeah, no, it'd be kind of hard to do it.
it's intentional that. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah,
Somebody can correct me on that, but I could swear.
Full disclosure, like I put captions on everything I watch. When I'm watching it at home, just because sometimes you're like, "What did he say? Like, what the hell's going on here?" Like, it's just a little bit more, especially for movies that are like fast paced. Sometimes, I'll put them on just to figure out what they're saying. Sometimes,
yeah. Yeah.
So other movies that have Spanish on it that I thought was pretty good, and I don't know why I'm getting on a Disney kick, but like McFarlane, I don't know if you watched that movie. It's McFarlane USA. It's about this.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's about these group of kids that it's this high school. It's McFarlane High School, and actually, what's his name is on it? Kevin Costner, and it's in California, and he takes over. He goes to teach at this high school, and he finds out that these kids all can run, because they're having to work in the fields, and then they have to get to school, and so it's an actual true. It's based on true events. It's a true story, and
okay.
they start winning all these championships for cross country or something like that. But they have a lot of Spanish in that movie, and when I watched it, I think that movie came out sometime maybe about 10 years ago or so. And so we went to go see it at the movies, and within the first 5 to 10 minutes into the movie, they're playing Los Tigres del Norte. And
okay.
when you hear it, you're like, what's going on here? I was like, man, you don't hear Los Tigres del Norte in a freaking Disney movie, and sure enough, you got to watch it just for that. He's kind of going through. It's McFarland, California. It's the little city, and it's predominantly Hispanic, and Kevin Costner with his wife and two daughters. They're going through basically a town just like any other small town. Like if you go to Del Rio or like, some of these small towns in Texas, it looks just like that. Border. Yeah. On the border, or, you have chickens, that type of stuff. But the fact that they had the wherewithal to go, we're going to play, and then the song is, I don't remember the name of it. It's like the America,
Yeah.
So when you hear it, you're like, man. So that movie does have Spanish, and it's pretty good. I mean, so Disney's doing something right.
Well, that reminded me of one that I haven't seen it, but people told me like, this is the worst thing. Like the representation is there, but it's just too, corny. Was Blue Beetle, which sucks because that's a DC superhero that is a Latino named Jaime.
Yeah. No, I watched that movie. I didn't think it was that bad.
I haven't seen it, so I just know what people told me. And it has it has the same thing, right? It has what's the song? La Chona, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, now
there's things.
I have a thing about like George Lopez is not a big fan, and he's in it. But the movie itself, I didn't think it was a bad movie. I actually liked it. I thought it was pretty good.
I'm a fan of Blue Beetle. Right, I'm here for the representation, but some people were telling me that, because we're big comic book fans and movie fans, and like all of these things overlap for us, and that's kind of talking about a comic book movie with representation. And look, it's kind of that movie would center all the conversations that we're having.
Right.
So, but I haven't seen it.
And I know it sounds like we're we're being, overly critical, like we want representation, but we want it done right. Yeah, that's basically it. It's like it does make a difference. Like when Black Panther came out.
Right. I was just going to say that. I was like, that was an important film, right?
Yeah. And I think you and I were talking about it because our brother, right, Asim, was hype about a Black Panther. And I was like, yeah, it's awesome. It's great. It's all of that, right? But then they did Wakanda Forever, and then they introduced Namor. And when you saw it, I was like, oh, okay. This is what Asim felt. It's like
right. We said this is in the way they tied it into and change the origin just to tailor to like the existing continuity for Wakanda was really cool. Made Namor, El Niño Sin Amor, like that's amazing. And it was funny just watching reviews and critiques of it, and people saying, "I love the cultural aspect of it." Like,
oh yeah,
the culture. They can't say what they want to say, right?
No, well, not now.
Right. I love how cultural it was. Like such a bland term to say that it's like. Anyway,
yeah, and of course, they had to go get a Mexican actor. Tenoch Huerta he played an excellent role. I mean, he was really good in it. Now, I did read that he got mixed up with some whatever and some allegations, and
he did. I haven't heard anything else about that. He hasn't gone the Kang route.
Yeah, but I'm here for it. Like I love that movie. And, I bought the what do you call it? I bought the Blu-ray, the Steelbook, and all that. And part of the reason is like it represents us, like, and that's important. And I was all for, Black Panther, but it really hit home with Namor. And normally I hate people, changing stuff about the comic book character. But because it benefited us, I was like, you know what? We'll let it slide. We'll let it slide on this.
Yeah, you'll allow it, right? You can change the origin story, but if you do it like this, let's go.
And then plus, and then you heard Lupito speak Spanish, so yeah.
Yeah, there's just something about that, like all the imagery, all the, him descending down onto the throne, like with his head. It was just great. So, like you said, it's what Brother Asim felt was.
No, it was great. Some of the older movies that had Spanish, like we talked about Tombstone, right? And Tombstone has some Spanish at the beginning, and that Spanish is authentic. So it's like you were able to do it. I mean, you can do it. You just didn't spend enough time with it. Because Tombstone came out in the mid-'90s, and their Spanish was perfect. Now the guy that's with the Cowboys, his Spanish is terrible, but they call it out. It's like, Jesus, your Spanish is worse than your English. It's like,
your Spanish is worse than your English.
He goes, I don't know. He talk about a sick horse. He talk crazy.
Yeah. We're getting into like Speedy Gonzalez territory, right?
Yeah. Which, oh my God, that would be a great podcast. Is just the like I guess cultural appropriation in cartoons.
Appropriation, right?
Yeah, and like Tom and Jerry and Speedy Gonzalez.
Do you remember Speedy Gonzalez, his boy, his partner?
Yeah, Slowpoke.
Slowpoke, like, come on, man, really?
What's wrong with that, man? It's representation.
Like, he's drunk, right? I don't know what's going on.
He's always drunk, dog. What's wrong with that? Let me get me another sip real quick.
I'm just saying, like, it's just, it's irresponsible. So, you know.
I think you did a pretty good impression. We might have you back on as just Slowpoke. You know, it's like, what do you think, Slowpoke?
No. Shut that down right now.
That was a pretty good impression. I think David, his last name is Rodriguez.
There it is.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to ask him when he comes back about this particular topic. But yeah, so I just wanted to bring you on and discuss it because, you know, we both grew up speaking Spanish. You know, when we go home, you know, our parents speak Spanish, so we speak Spanish.
But other notable, you know, like redundancies, like tengo hambre, I'm hungry. Was it Taco Bell? I don't know which fast food place or whichever place. Like, get you some spicy queso cheese. Like
some hot
cheese. cheese. Okay.
Yeah. Quick story, right? So when we were in college, and actually, I was told this story, but my wife, we weren't married at the time, right? We weren't even dating, and she was hanging out with Rudy, right? Our mutual brother, right? Rudy. And then,
yep.
You know, so you go to parties and then you go to the after party and then inevitably you show up at, what is Taco Cabana at like 2 a.m., right?
Mm-hmm. Which is not there anymore here in College Station, by the way.
And we all went to Texas A&M. And so they're all drunk and they go up to the counter and then Rudy orders, yeah, can I have cheese and queso?
No way.
Yeah, you need to ask Rudy about that.
You made that up.
So
yeah, okay.
Yeah, but it's I thought it was a quick topic, you know, the chivalry short topic of a greater discussion, and I figured, hey, you know what? Let's have Leo on and discuss it since we have talked about it before. But
and I'll say this: there are less and less people that can speak Spanish. I know it because you see people with their last name and the last name, right? Like Martinez, Hernandez, all that.
Yeah,
don't speak Spanish. There's less and less people.
Yeah,
that's okay. But
yeah, like
learn Spanish, y'all.
Yeah, our daughter blames us. She's like, I blame y'all for not, teaching me Spanish. And we're like, you were in Spanish, little girl? I was like, you didn't want to talk Spanish when we were at home. And then my son, we put him in bilingual classes. And then when you come home, he's like, you wanted to kind of talk Spanish with him. And he's like, Dad, I don't want to talk Spanish at home. It's like I'm doing homework.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind of hard to do.
As the generations go by, I feel like it's getting, I don't know.
Well,
speak Spanish.
Yeah, maybe my kids will right my wrongs, and my grandchildren will be fluent in Spanish.
There it is.
Maybe I'll just start speaking Spanish after I retire from work and force them.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But anyway, appreciate you coming on. We'll probably have some of these in the, kind of filler time between the bigger episodes, but I thought it was a good enough topic to put it on for, our little chivalry short. But you're welcome to come on anytime. Keep listening and be on the lookout for merch. I might send you a shirt for just for coming on.
Nice. I'll take it.
All right, man.
I'm the P1. Let's go.
Yeah, we'll put hashtag P1 on it. All right.
Yeah.
So all right, so that's it, guys. Have a good one. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on your social media, and or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from us, you can follow us on Instagram and X. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time.